Hello, everyone. Welcome to my living room. It's wonderful to see all of you, and I'm so thankful that you have decided to join me for some online instruction. And I apologize because, as you can see, I like to decorate, and there are not many empty walls in my house that I could use to project the screen or to write on and so on. As well, I don't have a dry erase board at this time. I'm hoping to get that ordered online, but as you know, these days it's a little difficult ordering online. So, in the meantime, I hope you don't mind some creativity, and I'm using something quite different from a whiteboard, and I hope that you'll be able to see that behind. Let me see, I'll move this way. There we go. Um, so in a moment, I will zoom in closer so that you will be able to see the information more clearly. So anyway, welcome to English by the fireside, although there is no fire at the moment. However, welcome to my home, and I look forward to guiding you and helping us continue through the Ventures Level 3 book. So, for those of you who were able to log in to YouTube and saw the first video, you will notice that I used a PowerPoint presentation as well as a video that was on this corner of the screen. So I decided to introduce each unit that we have remaining, as well as introduce vocabulary or any cultural points that perhaps PowerPoint would be easier. And if you are interested to have a copy of the PowerPoint presentations, I am happy to share that with you. So let me point out to you, I'm going to move over let's see if I can arrange this here. I'm going to move over to the whiteboard and point out to you my email and contact information, as well as today's goals and objectives for this class. So let me point out to you. You probably may know already, but my personal email is Carey Waldrop at gmail.com. So CareyWaldrop at gmail.com. And my phone number, just as a reminder, although I know everyone has already received communications from me, my personal phone number is 865-771-1525. Okay? So I hope that you saw the first segment. So just for a little bit of introduction to this online plan, the online learning that we're going to be doing together. Each week, I will submit and upload 2 hours worth of video instruction, and the office will also in turn submit those videos to YouTube and send you a link so that you can view at your own time and your own convenience. I know that many of you are busy with grandchildren and children, so I hope that this will be convenient for you. I would ask one favor, one request, that when you finish watching any video on YouTube, please respond with a comment or a thumbs up, just to know that I will know if you have joined the class, as well as the office. They can be aware who is participating with this online instruction. So thank you for that. And so the first segment you hopefully have already listened to. I introduced Unit 7 about shopping and introduced some vocabulary that is helpful for shopping, as well as some cultural idioms for informal English daily use, as well as new vocabulary. And then if you had a chance to pause and listen to the first listening exercise, I hope that you had a chance to do that. If not, we will listen together to that in just a moment. So, first of all, our plans today, we're going to quickly review from segment 1. We'll review quickly some vocabulary that we learned together. And I would like to do listening practice with you. And then we'll do together some book exercises, especially today, lessons A and B. Lessons A and B. Okay. And then for grammar practice today, we're going to learn about some modals for giving advice, especially could and should. So in order to do this, we have to be a little bit creative. I would much rather face you and be able to ask your questions face to face and so on. But sadly, we can't at this time. So I invite you to email me if you have any specific questions. You could also give me a call or text me. And I know that there is, at least in the Vision Church class, there was a Cacao Talk group for this class. So let's find ways, creative ways that we can communicate together and keep in touch. And I want to be here to answer any questions that you might have. So to do this online instruction, I'm going to propose, just a moment. So we will be continuing with this Ventures book, and we're starting back with Unit 7, which I introduced before. And as we proceed, as we go through each unit, I will give an explanation or teach anything that we need to learn. And then I will pause for a moment. And when I say pause at home, you have the chance to pause this video and do the exercise by yourself. If someone is with you, you could do the exercise with a family member. And especially relating to very important practice, I encourage you to pause the video and do some practice in the middle of the lesson. Okay? After we pause, we'll come back together and check the answers. So I will read the sentences and include the answer. As I do that, I encourage you listen to my pronunciation and use that as a chance to practice and repeat. Okay, so let's try our best for today. And if you open your books, looking at this green color book, if you have, we're starting on page 85. So what I'm going to try to do is play the listening exercise for you once, and we'll listen together. After that, then we will pause and I'll give you a chance to answer some questions. Okay, and let's see.
Shopping.
Okay, I'm going to come closer so that you can hear.
2A and 2B.
Julie, look at this car. Automatic transmission, air conditioning, leather seats, sunroof, power windows. It's got everything. And it's only $27,500.
Ken, are you crazy? With tax and fees, that's about $30,000. We can't afford $30,000 for a car. Where are we going to get the money? The balance in our savings account is less than $8,000.
No problem. Look here. It says special financing available. Only 4% interest with 60 months to pay off the loan.
60 months to pay? That's 5 years. We're going to pay for that car every month for 5 years. Ken, you know I'm afraid of getting into debt. We have bills to pay every month, and we need to save money for college for the kids.
Well, Julie, tell me, do we need a car or don't we need a car? Our old one always needs repair, and it's...
Okay. We do need a car, but we don't need a new car. We could look for a used car. Let's go across the street and look. I'm sure we can find a good used car for $10,000 or even less than that.
Yeah, but Julie, look at this car. It's a beauty. We should get it. We can buy the car on credit. Everybody does it.
No, not everybody. My father always paid cash for everything. He didn't even have a credit card.
Well, your father never had any fun.
Oh,
And I'm not your father.
Okay, we will pause there. Okay, I welcome you also if you could not hear clearly. If you would like to listen again, pause here and repeat using the cue reader on your phone, okay? So listen again if you like. Okay, now regarding the listening practice, the previous segment I introduced some new vocabulary, and we had afford, balance, cash, credit, debt, financing, interest, pay off, and suggests. Okay. Did you hear any of those words in the listening? Okay, and then who is speaking? Who is speaking? Okay, briefly on the first segment, I also introduced about the questions how much and how many. Okay, if you remember, how much relates to non-count nouns. How many relates to count nouns. So, the questions we need to answer. Number one, the cost of a new car. So what question will we ask? How much or how many? Okay, yes, the answer is how much. And the first answer we have, $27,500. Okay, the second question, what about the cost of a car with tax and fees? Did you catch before? Okay, the answer is $30,000. Okay, the third question, how much money is in the savings account? Savings account, how much? Okay, and relating to account, we will probably use the term dollars. Or how much money, how many dollars would be in the account? Okay, and do you have the answer? Less than $8,000. Less than $8,000. Okay, the fourth question. What is the interest rate? What is the interest rate? This was one of our vocab words. Did you catch it? Okay, the answer is 4% interest rate. Okay, number 5 question. How many months to pay? We use months. It's plural count noun. So we use how many months. And what's your answer? Okay, 60 months. 60. Okay, the last question. What is the cost of the used car? What's the cost of the used car here? Okay, the answer is in dollars. Did you catch it? I'm just curious if you have the answer. $10,000. $10,000. Okay, now that you have the answers, listen again if you like, using the Q reader on your phone. Okay, take this chance to listen for vocabulary, listen for the numbers containing the answers, and listen for the questions how much and how many. Okay, let's move to the next exercise 3. And you see again the vocabulary in the gray box. Let me put my phone down for a moment. Okay, so if you would like, take a moment to pause the video, and see if you can fill in the blank with these correct vocabulary words. Okay, I'll give you a moment to do that. And then let's go ahead and let's check. Let's see if you could fill in these correctly. Okay, I'm going to read here. Ken and his wife, Julie, are looking at cars. Ken wants to buy a new car that costs over $27,000. Julie thinks that they can't afford to spend that much money. The balance in their savings account is less than $8,000. She's afraid of getting into debt. Okay, as we mentioned, the B is silent, debt. But Ken says they can get financing to help pay for the new car. Okay, number 5. The interest rate is low, and they can take 5 years to pay off the loan. Ken isn't worried about buying things on, number 7, credit. Okay, and the last part. Julie disagrees. She suggests that they could buy a used car. She says her father never had a credit card. He always paid cash for everything. Okay, I have read the answers one time, and I encourage you to use the Q reader and listen again. So let me point out here, this symbol right here on your phone. Listen again. It will be good practice to repeat the answers and practice pronunciation with this vocabulary. Okay, let's continue on. And we're going to talk briefly about modals, and it'll be on page 86, lesson B, about modals. Okay, now the modals we're going to talk about specifically are should and could. Which word is stronger, should or could? And I know that you know the answer. The stronger word is should. You should do something, something. Okay? So let me give you a little bit of instruction. I'm sorry for stepping away for a moment. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice, how to use these modals, and also how to give advice. We have talked before in class about giving advice, so we can consider this like a review. Okay, and just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to use this one instead. Hopefully you can see more clearly. All right, let's get it straight here. All right. Now, ways to give advice. All right. All right, sorry, it's a reverse camera here. It's a little hard to keep. There we go. Okay, so some expressions. We have weaker expressions over here and stronger expressions on the other side. So some weaker ones. Actually, when I say weaker, culturally speaking, I mean more polite. Okay. So the first one, you ought to, you oughta. Okay. Oughta is the reduction, if you remember the shortened phrase. Okay. And the next one, why don't you? Why don't you? Now, after you, we're using a base verb. Using a base verb. Okay. How about you, blank? This is a question here. Now, this is a very common expression. The next one, if I were you, I'd. If I were you, I'd. Okay, and I put a star by the next one because this is colloquial. It's slang or informal English. If I were in your shoes, okay, what's the meaning? It means if I had the same situation as you. Okay, another one, have you thought about blank? And finally, you could. This is the other modal. You could. It's a little bit softer and gentler than you should. Okay, you could or you might want to. Okay, now stronger. Okay, let me straighten this up a bit here. Let me come on this side and get it straight. All right. So stronger. You should, you must, you have to. You notice the accent here. You have to. And the reduction, you have to. Okay, next, you'd better. You'd better. And finally, your only option is blank. Your only option is blank. Okay, after these, you need to use the base verb. Let's give an example. You must be careful during the COVID-19 outbreak. You have to drink hot water after you go outside. You'd better wash your hands frequently. Okay, last. Your only option is to stay healthy. In my answer, I used an infinitive, to stay. Okay, so we have weaker expressions and stronger. And I'm sorry, I don't want to make you dizzy. If you think it's easier for me to use PowerPoint, I'm happy to do that. Okay? So these expressions we have learned before. But it's very useful in daily life. So perhaps with a family member at home, you could practice giving advice in English. Okay, try to do that in English. Okay, now I'm going to continue to another page and see if I can hold it clearly. Okay, asking for advice. So if you notice the box below, let me get closer. Okay, there we go. I'm making myself dizzy. Okay, the noun form, you notice, has C, A-D-V-I-C-E. And the pronunciation sounds like S, advice. Okay, the verb form is with an S, but the pronunciation sounds like Z. Advise. Advise. Okay? So advise is the verb form, advice the noun. All right, so let's see. Asking advice. What do you think I should do? What do you suggest? I could ask, what do you suggest? Or, what do you suggest for me to do? If you were me, what would you do? If you were me, what would you do? The same expression we learned before, if you were in my shoes or in my position, what would you do? Okay, and using the verb form, what do you advise me to do? What do you advise me to do? Okay, so I know that we have studied this before, but it's always good to review a little bit. Okay, so all right, I think in a review, perhaps next week, I can add this information on a PowerPoint slide, and maybe it will be easier to read and follow. Okay, so let's go back to the book. Let's go back to the book on page 86. Let's go back to page 86. Okay. Could, the book mentions, is useful for giving suggestions. A suggestion meaning something that you could do. It's not urgent or strong or forceful. But should advise, perhaps I have a stronger feeling to help someone or tell them what to do. Okay, so let's look at practice 2, and I'm going to ask you to pause the video. Just pause for a few moments. See if you can fill in the blank. You need to choose should or could. Should or could. My suggestion is notice the beginning of the sentence, which verb is being used. And a second tip I will give you is think, is this very strong advice or is it a softer suggestion? Okay, so pause for a moment and then we'll check. All right. Okay, coming back. Let's go through the answers if we can. Example 1. My rent is going up again. What should I do? And B. Here's my advice. You're a good tenant. I think you should talk to your landlord. Okay, number 2. I will pause and say the answer to yourself and see if you can get it correctly. I have to fix my credit. What should I do? You should talk to a debt counselor. He can help you. Number 3, can you suggest a nice restaurant? It's my wife's birthday. You could try Chow's, or how about Anita's? Okay, number 4, it's my niece's 16th birthday next week. What could I get her? B, why don't you get tickets to a concert? Or you could buy her a CD. Number 5, that vocational school is very expensive. I can't afford it. Can you give me any advice? Okay, B, well, you're a good student. I think you should apply for a scholarship. Number 6, I need a new car. Where do you suggest I look for one? How about looking in the newspaper? Or you could look online. Okay, one thing to mention about could is used often with options. If you have different choices, you could do this or you could do this. It's common to use with options. Okay, number 7. I just got another parking ticket. It's getting harder and harder to park in this neighborhood. I think you should sell that car. You don't really need it. Okay, and last, I'm going to be in New York City in July. Any ideas for things to do? Well, here we have options. You could see a Broadway show, or you could walk in Central Park, or you could go to a museum. There are so many things to do. Okay, so how did you do with those answers using could or should? I hope that you got those all correct. Okay, now something that will be difficult for us, of course, we don't have each other to do some group practice or any of the group exercises in the book. So what I'm going to do is read some scenarios, give you a moment to think to yourself, what would you say? How would you make a sentence to answer? Okay, so let's look together on the next page, 87, page 87. Okay, all right. Different situations where someone needs advice. So what would you say? Okay, think to yourself, what question would you ask to get advice? If someone is asking you, what would you say to answer? Okay, example. Let's see the example at the top. A, my car broke down. Okay, B, you could take the bus or you could ask someone for a ride. Okay, so what about the scenario, the problem? My rent is going up $150. Okay. All right. What kind of advice would you suggest? If someone is nearby, perhaps a spouse or child or grandchild, maybe you can share your answer with them and practice giving these suggestions. The third scenario, it's getting cold in here. It's getting cold in here. Okay, I will pause, let you think about your answer. Okay, the fourth scenario, I can't afford a new washing machine. Any advice? Okay, number 5 scenario, these shoes look terrible. What would you say? What kind of suggestion would you give? Number 6, I don't have enough cash to pay for these groceries. Any advice? And number 7, I got a bad haircut. I got a bad haircut. Has this ever happened to you before? What advice would you give? And number 8, finally, my neighbors are noisy. We've spoken about this scenario before in class. So what advice would you give to someone, a friend, whose neighbors are noisy? Yes. Okay. So at this time, we have worked through lessons A and B. So I would like to give you a challenge. So sometime during this unit, a couple ideas that you could follow. One idea is to practice the vocabulary, make some sentences for each word, perhaps keep a notebook that you can practice. Okay. However, later we are going to do a little bit of writing practice together. I will ask you to submit the homework to my email address, careywaldrop@gmail.com. Okay, so how about one simple challenge? Pick 5 vocabulary words. Make 5 sentences using the word. You can send them to my email, or you can also have someone at home check for you. Another challenge is pick 5 vocab words that you can practice at home sometime. Okay? On the previous segment, I also sent you a link that you could practice using how much and how many. So I hope that you were able to access that and practice by yourself. So that's it for segment 2. This video, or all of the videos, will be available for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I think the videos will be erased. However, if you are interested to receive PowerPoints, if I give you a PowerPoint, let me know and I will send it to your email address. In fact, if you don't mind, I would like everybody to send me an email just to say hi or show me some sentences, and that way I can confirm your email addresses. Okay, so let's pause here, and we will continue later with segment 3.